Hey guys, welcome to our first campaign episode. Brief little thing to start on. This is the notes section. I would generally be using it for summarizing the previous episode, but here there's a couple things I need to talk about our campaign, just to prevent some confusion. The first of all is that this episode, Hide and See Me, is a rewrite of Featherhide, not First Flight, which means we are starting with Alex as opposed to Tom. Next is that, speaking of Tom, he and June are going to be getting new Nine Realms dragons. I know originally the plan was Whispering Death and Flightmare, but I rolled for those dragons months ago, so I have actually had enough time to develop new dragons for the characters. I went back, I used the randomized details, and I made them new dragons. The last thing is that it may at times look like I'm misusing perception, especially during this episode. Because passive perception is one thing, perception is another. And they're not generally that connected. However, in times where I feel like, for dramatic effect or whatever, I will be using perception rolls when you would generally just look at somebody's passive perception stat. And that's everything for our notes section, so for dice feasibility purposes, will now be jumping back behind the camera. Let's get going. I would like to introduce you all to the quaint historic town on Berserker Island, and more specifically, to the Sunday-style port market that's ongoing. Now, it's all just temporary tents, nothing's permanent here, but it's surprisingly bustling for the time of day and for the weather. It is evening, and it is blustery, and there's a few inches of snow on the ground, but people are there. And on one side of the port market, you can smell raw fish. On another, some sort of heavily sweet, ambiguous scent from a vendor selling a bunch of various baked goods. Lastly, though, the strongest smell is grilled fruit, grilled veggies, grilled potatoes, and grilled meat. And these are all coming from the vendor that we are next to. This one is selling kebabs, and the vendor himself, he seems a bit strange. Is he not very friendly? Is he just having a bad day? A little ambiguous, but he's tense and he's not smiling. And he passes an order, 6 meat skewers and 4 veggie and potato ones, over to a customer, Leo. Leo, he takes it and he leaves without another word. No thank you or anything, but as soon as he is gone, the vendor almost seems to melt into a much more relaxed state. Now, let's follow Leo, though. He meanders through the port market and through the historic town, but somewhere between the edge and the heart of the town, he slows down significantly. And it's as he's passing a venue next to a maple processing building. This building has some beautiful orchards and some really nice-looking plants growing some really nice-looking food-bearing plants and some beautiful maple trees in their orchards. And at the venue, there's a party ongoing. He glares at a couple of partygoers, but the one most particular that we're going to be focusing on is Alex Gonzalez, 17-year-old, and she's working on trying to fix a bug in the lights at the venue. Now, she's definitely clinging to the edge of the party and skirting around as much interaction with other partygoers as she can. One of the partygoers spots Leo and approaches him, kind of trying to be intimidating, trying to look aggressive and whatnot. And Leo, he sees this, he's like, just passing through, and he returns to normal speed. He continues on up a trail to an overlook. It's a fork in the road, and it's pretty high up. You can see the Icarus research station on the other side of the fissure that practically splits the island in half, and you can also see it overlooks the historic town, much of the historic town as well. And he passes by it without a second thought, but actually looks over as an alarm blares from the Icarus research station. He seems to think nothing of it, or at least he doesn't pause to look over, and he's perhaps amused by this. For whatever reason, he looks to be in a better mood than he has been before. Now, he finally makes it up to his home, which is in a weird state in between maintained and disrepair. But it's clearly lived in, and it's clearly his home. And he has a hunting blind set up next to it, which he goes to hang out at, and to look through his trail cam footage. Back at the party, it's much later now and things are winding down. Little kids are sleepy, so parents are carrying them home. And we get two newcomers. June, 17, same age as Alex, and Angela. And they don't seem to be from the historic town, particularly Angela, as she's wearing a work uniform. Carla and Hazel go over to approach and be like, hey, what's going on? Everything okay and all that? And June says that it's fine, it can wait. We don't want to intrude. But Carla reassures her, we were gonna head home in a few minutes anyway. So Carla continues talking to June and Angela, while Hazel goes over to their daughter, Alex, and she's like, hey, we're gonna head home, do you want to come with us? Alex is like, no, I'm gonna stay here and do my code a little bit more. So Hazel gives her a improvised bottle of pepper spray. Now, it is just a spray bottle with pepper juice inside of it, not the aerosolized professional quality, but it still would do the trick if needed, is their belief. So Alex, once everybody else is left, settles into a screened gazebo with some chili chips, and she closes the screen and she sees this as sufficient cover or comfort from the outdoors. Back at Leonard's property, he's still watching his trail cams when an alarm on his phone goes off. So he takes his food out of his bag and takes the skewers out of the meat kebabs, and he goes up to his cabin and he puts the food through the mail flap. Now, I would like to roll perception. We get an 8 off a requirement of 7. Okay. Oh, and then modifiers, right? Leo's modifier is +1. So technically a score of 9, and Leo hears nothing on the other side of his door, and he thinks this is odd. So he takes out his hand axe, he holds it at the ready, and he opens the door. Now, something just marginally smaller than a grizzly bear on its forelegs when it's not standing up barrels out, and it catches on the arm that has the hatchet, so takes like 1 point of damage, and it catches on him and sort of shoves him to the ground as it's pushing past. So Buzzsaw now has the prone condition. He stands up on the next turn, and he attacks a pile of firewood that is right next to his door. He takes his hatchet and he basically throws it into it, doing 4 points of damage to the wood log. And he quickly seems to brush off this outburst, though, as he stands up and brushes himself off and moves the food further into the house, into the living room. He then goes back to his waterproof box that's next to his house and opens it. And he digs through, he gets a speaker out, and he hooks this up to his phone. He proceeds to put it in the living room next to the food and plays some sheep herd noise on loop. He then goes to hide behind his blind, but rather than watching the fissure, rather than watching his cams, he's watching the fissure. Now, back to the party. Well, the venue anyway. Alex is in the gazebo, and something that sounds rather like a large rat goes skittering up. She can also hear what seems like some type of bird making a call at night, and it almost vaguely sounds like a taunting "see me." Alex, she tenses at the bird and the rat, but she decides it's fine to ignore it. Once she has her work done, she leaves the gazebo with her bowl of chips. Now, I will be rolling another perception. This one, we're going for a 12 or higher. We get a 7, and Alex's modifier is +4 here. 7 plus 4 is 12. That's embarrassing. 11, which is not high enough for spotting this thing. So that doesn't mean that this thing doesn't spot her, though, or those chili chips. So the dragon, a snowtail, but we don't fully see it yet, it just makes a dive for those chips. Alex feels something thump into the bowl, so she drops the bowl and sprints off in the same direction that Leonard went. And the dragon doesn't pursue, he's just there for the chili chips, he's munching on them. And we go back to Carla and Hazel now, and June and Angela, who are at their house on their front porch. June is explaining that there's a team of 5 scientists that are missing in the caves that the research station Icarus is studying. And she is hoping that they'll come and help on any potential rescue missions that they do. Now, rolling for a 18 or higher, we get a 2. June's charisma modifier is +2, so she doesn't win on this one. And next, Carla and Hazel are like really hesitant here. They're like, why would you be going to us? We don't have a history of caving rescues. We don't have really a reason to be getting involved in this. And June answers that June reminds them that Alex helped the Icarus research team develop their gear, develop some of their coding-based gear, and so she was hoping that Carla and Hazel might help them. Now, she does bring up that she knows the town's tradition. They do not go into the caves. But she was hoping that Alex might be an indication that Carla and Hazel might be a little more okay with bending those traditions just temporarily in order to rescue the researchers. And now we are rolling charisma on 8. We get a 10. Just for fun, there's the +2, so that's 12. And this is enough for Carla and Hazel to be like, okay, well, we're willing to help, but let's discuss details further. Back on Leonard's logging property, Alex is running. This presents a unique problem, because that bear-sized creature that burst out of his door and is now running through the woods on his property, it's a carnivore. It's got a prey drive. And it sees Alex sprinting on his property, so its instincts kick in. And I will now be rolling once for the dragon and once for Alex. This will be competing or contesting dexterity scores. So for the dragon, we get a 16. 14 dexterity should be +2. +2, so 18. Oh geez, I'm gonna have to get a nat 20. And for Alex's score, we get a 12 plus her 2 modifier to dexterity. She has a 14. So, Alex takes 2 damage from this dragon pouncing on her, taking her health to 9. And once again, we need Alex to roll dexterity. We get a 20. So, Alex manages to take her pepper spray and spray it into the face of this dragon that just attacked her. And it does not like this. It backs off really quickly. But she immediately jumps up and starts backing up as much as she can, causing her to stumble as there's a slight slope behind them. So pepper spray bottle breaks, but she's fine. And the dragon, it goes off. Alex takes a turn to stand up, and I will be rolling a 10 intelligence or higher for her to recognize the location. We have is that a 14 or a 6? It landed on its edge. I'll re-roll that one because I'm not sure. 12. So, Alex does, in fact, recognize that she is on the property of Leo's logging company. So, I am now going to be rolling a d6. 1 through 3, she takes shelter someplace that's away from a tree. 4 to 6, near a tree. Now, she's not being pursued by the quote-unquote bear dragon anymore, but it's not like she knows that. So, we get a 2. This means that she takes shelter in a movable crane, those small movable logging cranes, but she is some distance from a tree. Leo has guard dogs on his property, which presents a challenge. So I'll be rolling perception for him to see if he notices them barking. We get a 16. He definitely notices it. And Leo pauses for a genuine moment, wondering, do I go check this out? Do I not? But ultimately he decides to settle down to keep watching this sheep trap that he has set up using his house. And he's like, I'll reward the dogs later if they catch something. So, back to Alex. We're going to be rolling a wisdom with 12 or higher as the requirement. Oh, we land perfectly on 12. Alex's wisdom modifier is +4, so 16. And this wisdom modifier was for whether she would text or if she would call her moms. Now, the dogs remain unaware because she texts her moms. Like, I am lost on Leonard's logging property. Please come help out. And the dogs remain unaware but unfortunately, so do her moms, as is indicated by her text saying delivered but not read. The Snowtail Dragon has now been following the trail of a chili smell that Alex left through her cracked pepper spray bottle, and the little guy almost gets caught by the dogs. He freaks out and he flies over and flies into Alex's face and shelters there as best he can. So, we now roll a 10 for a will save to either freak out and leave the shelter or to just stay there. Under 10 is flee. We get a 4, and her wisdom modifier is +4. So she gets an 8 and she leaves the shelter with this dragon still on her. Now we re-roll which area she has for shelter. We get a 5. This means that she's now in a tree cutting truck near a tree. But the dogs are right there. They know she's there now. And she sort of just freezes there for a few moments. Snowtail Dragon she swats at it a couple times on her way in between the two vehicles. And now that she's here, she's sort of just frozen. So the dragon moves down to her hands, where it can smell a bunch of pepper spray and chili chips, and it starts licking them. And she sort of just stares at it for a few moments, like, too scared to do anything. But she very, very slightly relaxes towards this little dragon, because it's clear it doesn't mean any harm by this. And Alex decides that she really needs to do something, so her plan is to escape the dogs up a tree. So, she is presently sheltered right next to a tree. So this means we need one athletics score with an 8 or higher. And we roll We get a 7. So that 7 looks bad, but her athletics is a +1, which means she does make it up into this tree. And Alex decides, you know what, screw it, I'm calling my moms. I need them to, like, actually get out here. Alex gets Hazel on the phone, and Hazel notices a notification. She's like, oh, I'll check your text. Alex is like, no, please don't. I don't want the others to get freaked out. And Hazel, worried, is like, what's going on? Alex is like, a monster chased me onto Leonard's logging property, and I need you to come and distract his dogs to get them away from me so I can get off of here. And Hazel is like, they're after you again? It's just some mix of concerned and confused, or trying to confirm some information. And Alex is like, yeah. So Hazel tells the others she's going to go pick up Alex, and she leaves and she gets in her car, and she talks to Alex on her way, and she's like, so what kind of monster chased you? And they're trying to figure it out, and it's like, was it a boar? Too small. Was it a sheep? Too small. Was it a Highland cattle? No, actually, believe it or not, not quite. And Alex is like, it was bear-sized. Now, Hazel walks out the door. She's like, I'm gonna go pick up Alex and then I'll be back. She gets in her car and she starts driving over there. The snowtail is kind of glued to Alex's shoulder at this point. It's freaked out by the dogs, and it's Alex has tried to brush it off a couple times. It's just still too freaked out. But it's starting to get just a tiny bit mellower as the dogs have stopped barking. So Little Dragon notices some tree sap, and she's interested. The snowtail starts sniffing at the sap and licks it just a little bit, and it freaks out. It does not like this taste. So it goes squawking off, and the dogs go after it. Now, Alex needs to roll a dexterity of 10 or higher to not fall out of the tree at this jump scare. We get a 10, and her modifier is +2, so she stays in the tree. With the dogs gone, Alex climbs down and she reunites with Hazel, and Hazel drives them both back. And because Alex has this dragon bite on her ankle, Angela's like, hey, I'm a nurse, I can help. Helps Alex with the dragon bite. And Alex is given the news that her moms are going to be helping out with the Icarus project, and they will be staying at Icarus. They ask Alex if she wants to come with, and she's like, no. And can't we just stay in the town? Because it's still easy enough to get in between the two towns. But their moms are like, no, we think it's best to stay at the project. So Alex very reluctantly is like, all right, fine, I'll go with.